Did you know that it was only until 1995 that role-playing games got multiple endings? Did you also know that it took close to 10 years to see more live color and dimension in the design? What else do you not know about your beloved action RPG? We are taking you on a journey to rediscover RPG for today's video. Let us get started. Number 5. Pixelated. The beginning days of action RPG games were quite simple. Despite the success rate of an RPG depending on the storyline, one could also appreciate the graphics for their relevance. The factors that made them enjoyable initially were the scenarios and their parallel roles in the real world. In the beginning, tiny gray square boxes represented a fantasy that players evoked in their memories. The design was poetic and plain, making the mind wander with endless opportunities for a stronger setting. The pixelated origins of Switch action RPG started some 40 years ago. Legend has it that Dragon Slayer, released in 1984 by Yoshio Kiya, was the world's introduction to RPGs. You could see a plain two-dimensional surface and blue and green colors in the pixelated characters. The storylines were also relevant for the time, hunting down vile beasts. If you succeed in hunting all of them, you win. This perspective makes it seem quite simple in today's terms. However, it was a hit in the days. Predictable games come with sharp boredom over time. Indeed, the player intends to win consistently, but they need be challenged. We will discuss the switch from a one-ending system to a multiple endings setup shortly. We will also present more on the switch from random battles. Number 4. Colors. The concept of RPGs followed the same train as Dragon Slayer. Others like Advanced Dungeons and Dragons and Dragon Quest were all developed with the same graphics and color palettes. A little history. There were 2 Advanced Dungeons and Dragons released at the time, and they were Cloudy Mountain and Treasure of Tarman. Both of them represent the first non-Japanese RPGs for a console. Nevertheless, everyone is confused about their release dates, and they remain a mystery. Notwithstanding, more color was introduced. We started seeing the top-down perspective of the graphics, develop detailed and colorful surroundings. The intricate character design, item design, and broader color perspective made the RPGs reach a new level of complexity and charm. It appealed to the players who were intrigued by the 16-bit look. As of 1993, Square Enix's Secret of Mana became the prime design example for all action RPGs. The genre became a more lifelike concept than a computer matrix one must imagine fitting into. Picture that. Number 3. First-person perspective. When you play the top-down version, you are focused on all parts of the screen. This position allows for multitasking and attentiveness. In contrast, one does not jump into the action as much as the eyes remain wide open across the now colorful surrounding. Therefore, the first-person perspective opens endless opportunities for gaming developers in the RPG genre. Treasure of Tarman played with the concept of first-person perspective, but did not capitalize on it much. Then, Dragon Quest has developed again with the CRPG approach. The game has sold out multiple times, including 7 further sequels and 12 new games in the franchise. Beat that! Elder Scrolls Arena by Bethesda introduced the three-dimensional experience in 1994. Yet, the frames per second were still low compared to today's development. Developers continue to innovate on these old principles, realizing newer feats each time. Today, we have iconic and mind-blowing fantasy creations. The heroes and villains look believable, and the players feel inside the game. As soon as you enter the top Xbox One action RPG games, you are one with the elements and characters. Note, the Xboxes also got better with graphics and design. As the graphics got better, so did the storylines. Players were getting a mix of action and adventure, with an intriguing addition of multiple endings. Since the introduction of real-life objects and reflections, this might be the most we have been immersed in pure art. We will tell you more about it in a bit. Number 2. Cinematic sequences. Please subscribe for more cinematic information. Do you know what that is? We neither. Just subscribe. Another aspect of the RPGs that changed greatly over the years is the cinematic sequence. While there has been outstanding development in other areas, The cinematic sequence did not receive much attention until much later. Today, Final Fantasy is known as the most iconic choreographed FMV. The gameplay methods keep changing. Think of FF7, 8, 9, and 11 of Final Fantasy. They all have different sequences. And that is how you become the best Switch action RPG. Sadly, this does not improve gameplay in any way. The cinematic sequences, for those of you who did not make film school, is what gives you those long cutscenes that often draw you out of the game. In terms of the scale of interactive FMVs, Blue Dragon has the upper hand. Many have called it intriguing and rather enjoyable. You might remember that Pokémon introduced some day and night sequences to their series later. They could not affect the game at all. As a matter of fact, the newer debuted Pokémon uses the sequence to enhance familiarization with the routines. Number 1. Multiple endings. Multiple endings remove all the predictability of games. Although it remained the standard for so long, newer games reshaped the status quo. Chrono Cross, 1999, and Chrono Trigger, 1995, began the step to featuring multiple endings. The trait was rare at the time. If you need to thank somebody for removing random battles from games, that would be those two. We could not name it all. Therefore, if you remember anything else that makes RPG development legendary, kindly let us know in the comments below. Note, again, that if these two games came 4 years apart and were the two leading torches in multiple endings, then the sector was not evolving quickly enough, pretty slow. Since you are a hardcore action RPG fan, here is another video. Best Action RPG Games 2022, Top Action RPG Games Android and iOS.